So topic 2 was about social organization. And these are some of the areas we had highlighted. You can see from that projection, what we essentially looked at was the meaning of social organization. We looked at characteristics of social organization. We looked at certain qualities that are associated with it. And we looked at groups, that is groups. Characteristics of groups, like we talked of groups consisting of people who interact in certain social patterns. We looked at loss of freedom that is in groups, as especially group members, there are certain compromises that they have to make as pertain to freedom. Groups normally have rules because they group members socially interact in a clear pattern of way of behavior. And then also groups tend to contribute towards larger organization because it's those small groups that form part and parcel of a large organization. Then we also looked at group-defined individuality, reality for the individual. These are common thing that group members share. Common thing that group members share is that there is a common objective, a common aspiration of what group members have. Groups are cohesive entities. They engage in activities that tend to make them run together in a cohesive way. And then they share ideas, and of course, most importantly, they have a position of respect to group members. That is especially the respect of others, which is quite important as far as groups are concerned. So in summary, we can say that one characteristic of group members is that there is respect for one another. There is cohesiveness in activities, the activities that are common to members that allow them to work together. And then also we have each and every individual has got their individuality, that is their contribution towards the group being recognized. And then groups constitute large organizations. Small groups that make large organizations exist. We looked at types of groups, and we said that we have formal and informal groups. Formal are quite organized and have got structures that define engagement. Informal groups may not necessarily have structures, but they have a form of group leadership and influence on members. We have membership and reference groups. Membership, you have groups that are defined membership. Reference group may not necessarily be together, but there's an influence that each member has on the other. We have in-group and out-groups. We have primary and secondary groups. So all these groups are quite important. You need to remember. Then we also looked at, okay, on primary groups, we looked at their characteristics. They tend to involve face-to-face interaction. And examples of primary groups is that they are normally formed around close friendship. So you find that primary groups are formed around primary socialization. People who tend to be responsible for the other, like in a family situation. We have the characteristics that involve face-to-face interaction. This is primary existence. That is like in a family where members tend to exist through one-on-one or face-to-face interaction. Those interactions fulfill needs that every member has, and they tend to be permanent. Like you belong to your family no matter what. Even if you go to another country, at the end of the day, you still be able to return to your country. You still return to your people, so you may be able to interact with them. They tend to be intimate. That is this close sense of emotional attachment to primary groups. That is very key. Just like primary group members tend to be emotionally attached to one another. So that is an important aspect that need to be taken into consideration. Secondary groups are quite loose. They tend to be impersonal. They are mostly created for a specific relationship, like a work situation. Example of include maybe a school situation. They tend to be more temporary, but at times they are quite large, whereby groups can consist of so many members. That's something that can be said of secondary groups. One very important group, informal groups. Okay, essentially they tend to be less formal in interaction. So those are important aspects that you need to consider. So in looking at social organization, we had identified those key areas that you need to remember and how they can affect relationships in organizations. We also looked at social stratification. Stratification is a division in society. You find that there are groups that are differentiated within a society in form of hierarchy. Like in our society in Kenya, we have three major or conspicuous classes or strata. top class, middle class, and lower class. That is quite a common way of stratifying society or group or social divisions in society. It may exist in that nature. You find that members of the social groups, they tend to have characteristics that define them. They tend to have those characteristics that define them, defining those hierarchies. So you'll find that different classes in society. So you may have a society divided into different genders, a strata, female and male. You may find society divided in classes, class status, top class, lower class, middle class. Or you have society divided into based on different characteristics. So we'll be able to maybe show you some types of hierarchies that society may have. So I'm going to show you some images. Of social stratification. Let me show you some images of social stratification, and you can be able to help us to understand these things. So let me put through some images here of social stratification. So there are some images here relating to social stratification, which we can be able to look at. So I'm going to scroll them so that we can see those images. So you can see that these are different classes in society. Different classes in society. You can see the lower class, the middle class, for example, and the upper class. You find that those classes, like in Kenyan society, we do have such classes. You find that there's a way of behavior of the different classes. Like we talk about categorization of group based on wealth, status, and power. That is also a way of classifying society. Even people of different groups, like you find that at the top, they are the elites in society, people who are the who is who, the top dogs. So you find that then we have people in the middle and then people at the lower end. So these are depiction of what has been in society from time immemorial. This pyramid is a good indicator or illustration of stratum in society. So we have the top class. They tend to be few in society. The salaried elite, the precarious, the working poor, and people receiving social benefits. People receiving social benefits, those who require support. We have the working poor, then we have those who are, they survive well in society. Then you have the salaried elite, those people with their income, and the professionals. There's one report that classified the world in terms of wealth a few years ago. Say that 1% of the world population owns 99% of the world's wealth. The world population today is over close to 7.5 billion, and only 1% has got all the income. 99% owns 1% of the income. So you can see at the apex, at the top, very few; at the bottom, so many. So you find that those are the strata in society. Strata in society. Find the strata in society. Upper class, upper middle, lower middle, working class, lower class. This, whatever representation one might want, it all shows that the strata, the social strata, is just essentially the inequality in society. Essentially the inequalities that exist in society. So let's go back to the notes and see what we have to see out there. So there are those differentials. We had several definitions, which just is a guide on the differences that you find in society. Many people have been interested in understanding social strata. Now there are various types, like the caste system. You find it in India. The class system in many other societies. The estate, the slavery, all those systems have been used to classify society into various groups. So it tended to be that people of a particular class would not interact with people of a different class. So there was clear boundaries that were placed to ensure that interclass interaction was very minimal. And still it orders itself in society, because you find that where people live, what they do, what kind of life they lead, will just drive them to interact with a certain group of people, and they find that that is their class. Characteristics of stratification is that, one, it is universal. In every society, there exist stratas. Again, it is a social phenomenon. It happens among people, individuals, and it pertains to social aspects of humanity. For example, age, sex, intelligence, and all that. Education, power, experience, income, and what have you. Then it is it's an ancient thing. It's something that has been there from time immemorial. We cannot say that it is a modern day phenomenon or phenomenon. It's something that has been there for years. Classes in society. The elite started being there from time immemorial. Then it is diverse. It is in diverse form. It can be can be in different societies. It typically plays as in different ways. The social classes in Kenya or strata in Kenya is different from that which is in maybe in Muslim nations or in like India subcontinent, in the European nations, for example. You find that it comes about in diverse forms. Like today we have the educated elite, the professionals, then we have the uneducated, we have people of different stratum in societies. Then also it can be said to be consequential. That is something that one does not choose where they find themselves. They find themselves there. Again, the opportunities that one has in life may not necessarily be affected by or determined by the class. One can actually, at times, you can actually move from one class because of consistent, maybe putting in effort here and there to come out of a particular class. But sometimes you definitely will find yourself in a member of a certain class. But the key thing is that members of a particular class will have similar chances, equal opportunities, and chances of survival, of increased growth may happen to members of that particular class almost in an equal way. Across the strata is where maybe chances may be different, but within the strata, chances may be similar. On principle of social stratification, we can say that it's a trait of society, it's a way society reflects itself, a way society carries itself. Secondly, it is carried over generations. It's something that is multi-generational, something that cuts across generations. And then again, it's universal, that is of everywhere, but it varies. Then there, of course, it has got the inequalities that pertains to it. There are differences. And these differences that you're talking about are normally influenced by these factors that are listed here. That social stratification is as a result of, or maybe is influenced by these factors that are highlighted here. Education, people of different levels of education, you find that they tend to find it hard to interact with a person of different level of education. Income is a very important contributor to strata in society. Occupation, very important. Wealth, power, prestige, social status, age, all these are major influences of social stratification. So you need to remember this. So all those are important aspects that or determinants of social stratification, the change, the differences in society. Now, we also did look at social class. Of course, we had looked at it earlier, but social class is also very important. It's a stratum of people of similar positions and social distinction or stratum or continuum. That is, people that exhibit or share certain behavior patterns. They share some behavior patterns that define them. The social class, you can see, is an aggregate of people who have same status, same rank, and or common characteristics or lifestyles. And those classes tend to drive people or kind of force members to behave in a certain way. You need to remember what social class is. So social classes or class, for example, as characterized by a certain status, and this status are determined by cultural situation of a particular society. Then also it is determined by relevance of members to that society. Are you relevant to that particular culture? That is what is the question. Each individual has to play a certain role according to the status that make the member of that particular society. Are we together? There's something known as social inequality. Why do you think there are social inequality? Inequality comes because of the hierarchy of power, sometimes of privileges, sometimes of income, which normally lead to unequal or inequality in society in terms of what people get access to. So inequality or social inequality can be determined or can be measured in terms of inequality of condition and inequality of opportunities, whereby opportunities may be restricted to certain level or certain group, or they may be made available to a certain group. So inequality of condition refers to those conditions that come because of unequal distribution of income. You might have wanted to go to a prestigious school, but because of income, you fail to get there. That is an inequality of condition. You wanted to live in a good suburb, for example, but because of income, you are not able to afford. So that is an inequality of condition. Inequality of opportunities, on the other hand, is where there is an equal distribution of life chances across individuals. That the life chances is not equally distributed. For example, such as level of education, one may have failed to reach a certain potential because they were not able to get a chance to reach a certain level of education. They may not have money to attain certain health status or treatment or to get justice. So you find those two are very important aspects of inequality. Someone gave theories of inequalities and stated that there's conflict theory and functionalist theory. You will be able to look at those theories on your notes, okay? So this is part of social organization. So I need you just to go through what we are discussed in class. In addition to these notes already have been uploaded, and you can be able to access them. Before we go to look at some few question papers, maybe I would ask if, for example, you might have a question. You might have a question. You can be able to look at a few questions here and there before we proceed. Any question? Any question? So let me project some questions so that we can do a revision. Now, from now on, I think we'll be doing revision on all topics. I will be doing revision as pertains to all topics so that at least we are able to, because at least we have gone through most of the areas that are necessary for us to go through. Therefore, I would just encourage us to go through all topics. Now, I believe you got your results, eh? You got your results. Let me check here. I was asking if you had any question. Yes, what does comment mean? Comment. Caroline, what do you mean by comment? Or where? Comment where? Where is that, Caroline? Yes, I've noticed that they're gonna take just right away, okay? So what do you mean by comment? Okay, you're asking me what comment means, and if it is comment on the quizzes or on the card, is normally a space that allow me to put my remarks on what you did. For example, if there was a way in which you were to answer the question, and I think maybe you might have did it in a different way, then I can put my comment there. So if I leave it blank, it means that you did the right thing, or I might comment well done. So there's no big problem. So those areas of comment, it was for me to put my remarks. So let me proceed to one of them to show you exactly what is meant by that. Before that, let's just mark this. So I'm going to share some of the things you are asking so that you can see what is meant by that. So let me just share it and then you can see. So the cards are here. The cards are here. And let's do this. Yes, like this one. Caroline asking about this. Now, this point of comment was for me to put my comments as far as your answers are concerned. Like you can see this one, this person's question, they answered here. Outline 3 organizational coping strategies for dealing with stress. And these are the answers that they had placed here. So if I'm satisfied with the answer, I would just put down there. I'll just indicate there. I'll just indicate there, well done. And leave it like that. But if there is something that I see, I would check and see. For example, you can say that there may be typos. There's a problem with typos, or typing error, or maybe common mistakes. Like there's one here, you can say that this one, what is this? You'll ask, what is that? What is this? So if so all those typos, I would say talk about typos. So when I am awarding my mark, I would overlook them. I would say typos ignored. If, for example, they don't, or I can say typos. So you can say typos ignored, typos penalized. So you find that the mark given to that person or the candidate will also reflect those things. So those are, so when I leave it open, it's not that there's an issue. It is for me. The comments are for me, Caroline, and everyone else. So are we together? Comments are meant for me. Like if I see that is something that I need to put there. If we talk about spelling mistakes and what have you, those ones are ignored. But if I say they are penalized, then I'll tell I'll for every mistake I'll take away. But this is not an English exam, so that I can be able to do that. As long as you have the idea, you're good to go. That's what is meant by that, okay? Good. So let me project some work. So this is actually where you did, where I would check your mark, what you have done. So like Caroline, I can see yours here. I'll not show everyone what you did. I'm just showing you that yours is here. I can make comments on it if I wish. I did not make comments, but still does not make it invalid. So it's okay. Good. Mm. So let me project a paper. Let me project some questions so that we can revise together before we proceed to something else. So is there any question that you may have we can share together? Before I give you mine, any question? So let's do a short revision here and there. So I see that our revision may not just restrict itself to that topic. We can just do a revision that pertains to everything that we have done. I was still taking a photo of the paper, okay? But now I think I can project it so that we may revise the same. Yes, there is that paper, that question paper. I see that we are going to look at them. All of it, you're not restricting ourselves to a specific paper. Huh? Do we want to look at the question papers, all of it, all the questions, I hope it is quite visible. And now here we are, questions. I believe we are all seeing the questions. I want us to storm the questions. Are we together? Let's storm the questions, all of us, one by one, and share answers. You can unmute your mic so that you can do a discussion, or you can be able to write there on the public portals. And so this is what you're going to do. Caroline and Monica work on question number 1. Muaro and Jensera work on question number 2. Yes, then again, Caroline and Monica, question number 3. Then Sarah and Mary, question number 4. So do discussion. You can unmute and talk to one another. And then at the same time, you can be putting down what we suppose, or we think as regards those key areas onto the portal. Meanwhile, I'm also going to set a quiz portal and put some other questions there. So you are free to do a discussion. Unmute, you talk to one another, okay? Or you use the public portal, public chat, right? Right. So let me hear people's voices crackling over the conference,
We're now unmuted.
Habari zenu? Yes, so umeshafanya hizo maswali?
Ndio hiyo question 1 tumewaachia.
Monica, hebu achambulie mbio tumalize namba 2 aingie.
Benefit
that bureaucratic system ni nini?
bureaucratic.
Okay, according to what I know, it's like power iko central. Like kuna CEO, then inaelewa kuna chain of command.
Okay.
Na accrue ni benefits. So outline for benefits that may accrue to an organization that embraces a bureaucratic system of governance. Inamaanisha benefits that may occur if an organization uses a bureaucratic system. So advantages. Unanisikia?
Nakusikia.
Jensera. Jensera. Jane.
Yes.
Okay. Have you understood the bureaucratic system?
Embu rudia tena tafadhali.
I'm asking if you have understood what a bureaucratic system is.
You just explained that.
Have you understood? Or
No,
according
just
to you,
repeat.
ukisikia bureaucratic governance.
You just explained that.
Yeah, like what do you understand? No, according to you, unaelewa.
Kidogo nitoke kwa kelele.
Sawa. Wengine unmute waongee. Helen. Mary.
Yes.
Ukisikia bureaucratic system, what comes to your mind?
It's a system whereby power comes from one central point.
Yes. Okay, so when we talk about a bureaucratic system, it's just, let's say, government administration, like where like the way Mary said, where a centralized point they're in charge of everything. So knowing that, what do you think there is advantage?
Excuse me.
Natia.
Yes. Can I mute so that you can explain it clearly?
Can I do what?
Mute.
Yeah. You can mute.
Okay.
So as I was saying, bureaucratic system is where government administration managed by department staff with elected officials. Like there's a centralized power. Power comes from one point, maybe from the CEO office. That's where there's a power. Then it's distributed equally. Like the CEO will choose somebody, but there's a centralized where, let's say, decisions are made and everything. Considering that, the advantages will be job security will be provided, because this, okay, let's call them like staff. They are, let's say, a body. In your mind, a board of governance, assume. So these people are in charge of budgeting the company or an organization, in charge of sourcing for, so they are the ones who give job securities. Secondly, it discourages favorism, because power isn't like from one person, it's a group of people who have equal power. But then another advantage is it encourages specialization, it creates predictability, it discourages favorism. Okay, everyone add their point or ask any question. Jane Sarah, do you have something to say?
No.
Pardon? Any question? Okay. Okay, in case there are no questions, I'll be calling one person and they tell me what they understand according to the advantages of bureaucratic system, and they explain their point. We'll start with Mary. Mary, unmute your mic.
I answer about what?
The one benefit that you have understood.
Okay, one benefit that I've understood, it discourages favorism, whereby because the power is not only owned by one person, so it won't be easy for a person to favor somebody. So it won't be easy for a person to favor somebody.
You are now muted. You are now unmuted.
Okay, that's true. Another person I'll call. Well, maybe Helen, you can type through the public chat one advantage that you have understood, and Jane Sarah.
People are quiet. I think Caroline is the only one engaging. Yeah. Let me hear participation from everyone. Yes, can we participate?
Kuna kinanuka baya.
Hello.
Yes.
now unmuted.
Yes.
Question two. Distinguish between perception and values exist in human relations. According to my understanding, perception is your own view or interpretation of something. Then the values are the beliefs that affect decisions one make. Umeelewa? Hello?
Hello.
Mnanisikia?
Nakusikia.
So nimesema perception is your own view of something or interpretation, like from your childhood setting, your own view. Alafu the values, it's the beliefs that affect decision making and interpretation of something.
Yeah. Thank you.
Umeelewa? Any question? Okay, I want to repeat the perception and values. Perception is your own view or interpretation of something. Then the values are the beliefs that affect decision making and interpretation of something. Any question?
There is no question. We can go to question number 3. Is that okay? Hi guys, is that okay?
Yes, Monica.
Hi, you can.
Okay, question number 3 states state 4 work-related factors that may lead to stress in an employee. So, there are many factors, so I'm going to state many of them. I hope you have your pens ready. So, one of them is long hours. When an employee works for long hours, anapataga head damage. Like he's not able to think clearly since he's not been given a chance to rest the brain after work. So it can cause stress to the employee. Then another one is heavy workload. Employees who are given heavy workload are unable to perform their tasks like to their full potential because it may, what can I say, like the heavy workload may interfere with how they carry out their work. Then the other one is changes within the organization. When people when there's changes each and every time, the employee tends to get stressed because he might not be able to understand what he or she is going to do next. Then tight deadline that are supposed to be met. Employees cannot work in environments where they are, what can we say, they're forced to complete a particular task at a given time. Labda itakuwa to its perfect form ukipeana tight deadline, so it may cause stress. Then what can we say, boring work. if an employee has boring work, like he has no psych, in his work area, so like there's a little stress though hiyo nice kuelewa vizuri, but yeah, and also you can talk.
Monica, before you
Yes,
continue, is boring work a frustration or a stress?
I think
it's a frustration.
okay.
Yeah,
Thank you
that's
for
what
the
no, that's what I think. But the teacher will confirm it. I just think it's a frustration. But maybe if you say like your okay, yeah. Maybe daily there's no how do I put it? Every day mnafanya the same thing like evil. Maybe that can lead to stress if it's prolonged. Like you remember
see
the
that
discussion we had
can
in
also
class.
because kama boring work
Can you be stressed because your work is boring? Or will you be stressed? Okay, just continue. Then when the teacher comes back, we'll ask.
so I just had to. There was changes to duties and job insecurity. Yeah, those are my points. I hope you've had them all. I'm done.
Okay, I'm going to discuss about question number 4. Highlight 4 features of a effective work group. Okay, as per me, what I understand about this question, it's asking the advantage of an active group. Yeah. And the advantage is there will be easier coordination since everybody. Hello?
Oh, hello, I wanted to ask a question.
Mm-hmm.
The question is saying you highlight the features.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry.
So
The features of oh, okay. The
not
characteristic of the group.
yeah.
Okay. Now, about the features of the effective group.
Oh, everyone has muted. What is happening? Hello. Did someone was speaking? Huh?
Yeah, I'm the one who is speaking.
All right. Go ahead. You
Yeah,
muted.
I'm supposed to take people through the features of an effective work group. Yeah, and one is they both have the common something to achieve. That let's say, for example, they have an objective or a goal, both of them. So they are common in something. They have something in common, and they define the reality for the individual. And then they have an idea of their own position in the group. Yeah, those are the only points that I have as per now. Maybe somebody can add. And for the one I've said that you are not understanding, you can ask too.
Hey, Mary,
Yes?
hebu please rudia hizo points zako.
Okay, the first one I said, they have something in common. The second one, it defines the reality for the individual. And then the third one, they have an idea of their own position in the group. Yeah.
Can one also say focus on behavioral rather than personality changes?
Yes, you can also say that they focus on development and accomplishment of common goals. Another point, you can say that the members of the group are allowed to discuss in full participation.
Are we in agreement with their contribution? Are we in agreement? Good. So work group, first and foremost, they should know what they're supposed to do. That is being professional. That is, in addition to what you have just added, is essentially the characteristics that make a team, characteristics that make a team effective. And they must be able to honor authority, okay, or respect the authority that is in charge of that particular group, so that they speak with one voice or with one objective. Then if there are differences that might impede full participation, then members should be allowed to discuss any issue that can create disharmony. They can be discussed so that everyone is effective or satisfied with that matter. And they should enhance relationship at all points or any chance or any opportunity that arises to enhance or to ensure positive relationship is built should not be wasted. Are you together? Now, it is very important because in your course, most of the time you work as a team or you work as a group, and these are some of the things you have experienced even during your practicals. I believe the assignments that might have been grouped together to perform, and therefore a group should have defined roles for its members so that each and every person understand what part they play in that particular work group. Are we together? Let's look at what do you mean by boring work? Yes, boring work can be frustrating. At the same time, it can, in fact, when you talk of boring work, you need to be able to explain what it means. Is it monotonous work? Is it work that may never have conclusive end? It is important to define what a boring work is before you determine whether it leads to frustration or it leads to stress. So in most cases, you find that work may be boring because it's monotonous. You do the same thing day in, day out. Okay, you may be achieving results, but the monotony of the work sometimes become something that you might find not attractive. Frustrating work, frustration comes when you are not able to even achieve your objective effectively. So you end up not getting the resources you need to perform the work. Stressful work or leading to stress may be working overtime, working overly, giving almost the entirety of yourself, and still you are not able to get result. Maybe too much work, something like that. So it is important to define what kind of a boring work is. But both it can contribute to both situations. Are we together? So is there any other question? Let's look at that question number 6. I think these are the one we did it previously. I hope so. Question number 6. State 4 ways in which servant leadership may be demonstrated in an organization. How do we demonstrate servant leadership? This is a leader who is able to can identify with their team members. They understand the role they play. They are well aware of the challenges they face. And in many cases, they are ready and willing to understand. So he's a leader who is able to sit, or who is able to fit into the shoes of the workers. A leader who embraces every work activity, as theirs. They don't do it because they are paid or because they have that position, but they are passionate about the work. So you also talk about someone who is passionate about the work. And somebody who is, though he might be working for an organization, he considers that work as their own. The achievement of the objective of the work give them fulfillment as if it was their own personal destiny or something that is of personal benefit to them. So they are so much involved in it, so much committed and dedicated to that particular work. So there's a lot of commitment, a lot of dedication to that particular work. They are not people who come in and get the reports and then move away, not minding what are the conditions of the work. This is someone who will create position, create enabling environment to their team members, ensuring there is enabling environment so that work could be effectively done. So if the resources required by the team members, then they are willing to go an extra mile to provide it. They were willing to go an extra mile to deal with any issue that the team members might face. Are we together? Question number 7. Outline 4 factors that may hinder effective delegation of duties in an organization. 4 factors that may hinder effective delegation of duties. We did delegation, especially in the other units, but it also applies because it's a part of human behavior. Now, one reason why sometimes delegation fails to succeed is the fact that the managers themselves are not willing to delegate. They might feel that if they give opportunity to the servants or to the subordinates, then they might be outshone, and that might actually compromise their positions in the organization. So that is one, unwillingness by the managers to delegate. Another thing is unwillingness of the subordinate to take delegated work. Sometimes you wish to give work to your team members, but no one is willing to take the work. So you find that they ignore it. So that's another major hindrance. Another hindrance is lack of requisite qualification. You want to delegate work, but your team members are not adequately qualified to take the delegated responsibilities. So you find it's a challenge. It's a challenge to delegate. What do you think is another reason that can cause problem with delegation? Inappropriate reward system, for example. Somebody.
Okay,
Yes, Mary. Let's hear you. What you want to add?
Okay, can you say lack of trust?
Trust from who? From the employee or from the manager?
From the manager to the employees.
Yes, very good. Lack of trust. For example, if the manager themselves do not trust the employees to do a good job, even if they can do a good job, but the management or the manager or the leader does not trust his team. That is a good point. So add that to those 3 that we had mentioned. Yes, that's a very good one, Mary. Another one, somebody with another one. Catherine, I can see you are ready to share. Mm-hmm. Yes, so those points plus many others that we might think of can sometimes frustrate. Like I was saying, that inappropriate reward system whereby somebody gets delegated work, but they are not appropriately recognized for what they have done. Someone else takes the credit. In that way, you find that some people might not want to get work delegated to them. Let's look at maybe a few last questions and then we can proceed. Question number 8. What are the indicators of a frustrated workforce? What are the indicators of a frustrated workforce? Someone who absents themselves constantly. Absenteeism indicates frustration. What else? Someone frustrated.
We can say conflict among workers.
Yes, sometimes they just foment conflict. They just wants to fight. They pick a fight with almost everyone. That's a good one. Yes. Someone else?
Can we also say poor work done, like the job is ineffective, they're doing a shoddy work?
Yes, very good. And that is also true. Poor performance in work, the outcome of the work, the result of the work does not measure up to the standards. It's an indication of frustration. Yes, that's a good one. Yes, someone else? Yes. How many times were you frustrated with the work at restaurants, especially at the practicals? And what could have been the cause of frustration? Or what could have not caused? What could be would have been the indicator? Sometimes accidents. You find that a worker who is frustrated can easily cause accidents or can do a mistake that leads to maybe accidents taking place, for example, a fall, injury, and such like. So this might be an indicator of frustration. Question number 9. Women at workplace are increasingly taking management positions in organizations. What are some 4 challenges that women face in management? What should women face as challenges? Yes. What do you face normally, ladies? Especially if you are in a leadership position. Yes. I believe you have at one point or even now taking some leadership position.
Okay, can you say they are being disrespected because of their gender in some cases?
Very good. Disrespect because of gender, especially where the male-dominated culture, where people feel that the woman cannot tell them what to do. So you find that sometimes there's such, in fact, many a times you find that there are such kind of discrimination in such cultures. Disrespect, another thing. There is what is called sexual harassment. You find that inappropriate comments, maybe even sometimes bordering into touching the ladies inappropriately. So you find that such kind of harassments tend to be common. And then maybe misunderstanding that sometimes, you hear comments that they only got that position because they are a lady, such kind of comments. They tend to be some of the challenges that they face. What else? There is a glass ceiling that ladies are not supposed to pass a certain level in the hierarchy in organization, whereby if they get to that position, then there's some questions being asked, like how did they manage, how did they manage to get to the top of the organization? That's a big question. So you find that, like if you see management positions in many countries, you find that majority of them are male dominated or men who are leading. Then another thing is discrimination in terms of rewards. You find that there are organizations where two different people, male and female, doing the same type of job, but the ladies are paid less than the males, such kind of discrimination normally takes happen to the ladies, especially in organizations. Let's look at this one before we check out. The next question: state 4 ways through which the manager of an organization may cause low employees' morale. Yes, how would managers cause employees to lose morale? This one, I think you can do it. You can do it. You have experienced it. You have experienced it, especially where you are working with a very difficult manager. How would they cause low morale? This one, I think, yes.
They fail to give credit to employees where they deserve, like maybe appreciate a well done job.
Yes, you don't appreciate your team members, you can frustrate them, you can cause them out. After all, why should I work hard? Hakuna appreciation, hakuna positive comments. Yes, that's a good one. Another? Helen, what do you think?
You can also say lack of effective communication.
Yes, improper communication or poor channels of communication or ineffective communication. That frustrates people, demoralizes people. Like the manager comes and says that I communicated this and that. Maybe it was communicated very late in the evening. Somebody sends an email at midnight and expect you to act on it. That's too much frustrating. And then he claims that I've already communicated and the email was sent at midnight. How do you act on it? You never even checked mail. That's a good one. Contribution. Yes, another point. How the manager.
Can you say?
Yes.
Long hour of working.
Yes, too much work. You give long. You insist that people remain at work almost to take as long as possible at work. Sometimes people need rest. They have already done their hour and then you still want them to remain behind to complete this, complete that. Too much work. That's frustrating and demoralizes employees. Yes?
Can we also say favorism? Like the manager favors some people.
Yes, inequitable treatment. Or you favor some people, using discriminating tactics in dealing with employees. There are those who are called sacred cows. They are untouchables. They know the who is who in the organization. So that is demoralizing, frustrating, very good. We can also say that pay that is not measurable with what one contributes. You are paid low amount of compensation, but you do a donkey work, you do a lot of work that is not measurable with the pay that one receives. That also demoralizes. Work that is not measurable with what one does. So that can be demoralizing. Another source of maybe cause of employee low morale is when the manager does not respect the person of the employee, like castigating them in public or calling them names when their colleagues are there. Like there are those people who shout at their employees and humiliate them and want to make a public example of them. That is it may demoralize the subject, the person who has experienced the issue, but other employees take a note of that and they feel frustrated. They feel they cannot express themselves. They can't go forward because they don't want to be in the same position that their colleague has suffered. So that can cause low morale. Very good. State 4 measures that an employee of organization may take to minimize work-related stress. I think this one, did we look at it? State 4 measures that employee of an organization may take to minimize work-related stress. This is measures of employee, not of an organization. Measures that an employee can take. What do you think? Let's look at it. I think this should be the last one for today. So what are the measures that employees can?
Okay, one, on my opinion, I think that employee can make sure that they follow the rules and regulations of the organization so as to not collide with the managers to avoid stress.
Good, that's a good one, yes. Let's also add up. Let's add up.
We can also say the employee can take breaks at the given time to avoid work having long stress of work. Like they take a break and everything so that not to get stressed out.
Yes, that is also very good. Yeah, you can balance your work. You can plan yourself so that you may have breaks in between work so that you are not just glued on one thing throughout. That's a good one. Yes, what about planning? Planning your work and prioritization. Planning work and prioritization. Like you plan in advance what you are going to do in a particular time, and then you prioritize work that are needed immediately, the work that can take sometimes, work that are long term, so that you get to complete your responsibility in line with the demands of your management. So that can also reduce prioritization, can reduce stress in organization. Any additional point? Any additional points of reducing work-related stress? Yes, Monica, I've seen the point you had placed there. That is related to the previous question, okay? I've seen it. I've seen also Caroline's point. Any additional point? Let's check what the next question has. I thought this could be the last, but okay. I think it is down here. That's last question number part B. It is explain 4 ways in which conflict may positively impact an organization. Explain 4 ways in which conflict may positively impact an organization. I think we had done these questions previously. We had looked at it previously. How does conflict positively impact organization? Let me get some of your contributions. How does conflict positively impact an organization? Can add up our comments. Yes. How does conflict positively? Yes. Yeah, enhance creativity. Yes, Mary.
It can help the management to come up with the effective communication channels.
Improving communication.
Yeah.
So that is a conflict, by way of dealing with conflict, then there could be a realization on how to handle it. Yeah, that can be okay. You can see Jen Sarah also saying enhancing creativity. Yeah, when there is confrontation, there are issues. At times, it calls for people to be a little bit better at handling situations. Yes, that's good. We also hear of improved work decision making. That is also true. in dealing with conflicts or issues that are a challenge can enhance management ability to make decisions, especially over tough situations. Yeah. The last question there is saying, explain 4 reasons that make it necessary to use a group when solving a problem in an organization. Explain 4 reasons that make it necessary to use a group when solving a problem in organization. Why is group decisions important? Why is group involvement important, especially when dealing with an issue? This, I think we can do a quick fire contributions. Group use of a group instead of relying on individuals. Why would groups be useful? One reason we can say is that there may be varied reasons or points that can come from different members. So you get variety of ways in solving a problem. You would get variety of ways of solving a problem. Then group decision also tends to give a compromised point or to reach a compromised decision. In that way, it is much more acceptable. It's much more acceptable to the entire group because they reach a consensus. So we say you can get a consensus from a group. You can get variety of ways of handling a problem. And then, of course, is that element of inclusivity. Is the element of inclusivity whereby group members, the contributions from members, the viewpoint of each and every member is taken into consideration. So no one is left out. That's another major contributor to why group problem solving is taken more seriously. What do you think? Add more points there? Yes, any more points? Do you want us to finish them? We can finish the paper itself. What do you think? There are about four questions remaining. Question number 12, 13, 14, and 15. You want us to be through with them? Let me give them outline 4 benefits that may be associated with involving employees in management of an organization. This one, I think we did this, but still we can look at it. What are the benefits of involving people in management? What are the benefits of involving people in management? Yeah, it boosts morale of employees because they feel that they are taken seriously in the organization. Secondly, employees tend to get to identify with decisions. They tend to get or to identify with decisions. And then, of course, it's also a training ground, especially when they get involved in decisions or management. It's a training ground to prepare them for future leadership positions. And then, of course, it creates that continuity. It builds that continuity and reduces employees' turnover. Reduces employees' turnover. People who are involved, they tend to want to remain in that organization. And you remember we looked at various forms of involvement, like sometimes even ownership. We also looked at levels of involvement, administrative and such like participative, supportive. So all those give employees reason to want to be in the organization. Explain 4 measures that management of a company may take to prevent intergroup conflicts. How do you reduce intergroup conflict? You can talk about equitable resource allocation. Talk about creating mechanism to handle issues that might affect the organization. So the remaining questions, I'll be able to put them on the quiz portal so that you can answer them at your free time, or when you get online. I can see people are leaving because we have remained here for some time. So I'm going to put a quiz there with the remaining questions so that you can be able to undertake to do them, all right? Good. Is there any question apart from what we have? What I've shown you? Like these 3 questions, we had done them previously. Public relation, Abraham Maslow, Hertzberg 2-factor theory, we did them somewhere. So we may not need to repeat them. And so is there any issue before we end this conversation or this conference? Any question? So those of you who had not completed or submitted their quizzes or assignment, I'm marking them, I'm checking them. So you'll be able to find them graded. You'll find them graded, all right? So any question?